Is it live? It is live. Hello guys, I'm here with Brom and Ranying. How do you guys say hello to yourselves?
Hello, Argent down.
Hello.
Alright. Since they've been on before, I've kind of made a slight change in how it functions, I suppose. So instead of them saying their past experiences, I'll ask them to speak of their more recent experiences of, storylines they've had, interactions, or whatever that kind of stuck with them. So let's start with Brom then.
Cool. I went to the Green Warden's Grove Village Hours the other week. That was, I was on 2 weeks ago, so there's not been a lot of experiences since then. But that's probably the highlight. Green Warden's Grove. It was really nice to see everybody get together. The events were really cool. Seeing like the Journeyman Guild running the market section, and the archery contest, which one of my members came third in. Go us! So yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Good job.
And as for me, last week I've been in Ulum with Siavash. We've had some interesting talks about turning Marat into a neutral hub for neutrally aligned characters, since BFA is kind of about to ruin it for us. So we're really looking forward to put that idea in place, and we went about some stuff such as the love parade taking place this weekend.
Alright, so neutral hubs and village hours, which was only once, right? They're not doing a constant one, are they yet?
Not that I've seen.
Alright. I think I added that towards the new thread I made for it. Keeping up with that stuff. Today we are going to talk about heroes and villains and, both sides and how they interact with one another. All that jazz. I have a list here, let me just look at it quick again. Yep, okay. So, what do you think when we mention like heroes and villains, like RP-wise? What have been your interactions so far with those sort of characters?
Cancer.
That's one way to, I suppose, but actual explanation.
I think it depends on where you draw the lines, really, doesn't it? In one way, everyone is either a hero or a villain, and in other ways, certain people aren't if they're the average Joe. But even average Joe RP, people have got morals and stuff that they will and won't do.
I do think there is a between the line, though. I mean, anti-hero, I guess, would be the idea, although, I mean, if you lean more to the villainous side but still do the occasional heroic deed, are you still an anti-hero?
Is that an anti-hero?
Anti-hero is where you do stuff...
Isn't that a good guy who does bad things?
It's a guy who does stuff the ways others wouldn't, basically, to get the thing done, yeah.
Basically, Illidan.
Yeah, basically
The ends
Illidan.
justify the means, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would say that Bromhead's probably an anti-hero. That's the kind of thing that he would do.
I'd say Terraless is probably the same thing as well. Well, to be fair, he's a sort of character that doesn't care about anyone in the same thing as well. Like, it's just, he'll do stuff that he sees the right way to do it, basically.
Is he doing it for himself though, or is he doing it for some kind of moral greater good? The greater good.
Hold on a second.
Sorry.
Let me just respond to this quick.
I think characters that do things for themselves, they're not inherently evil, but there's certainly they can't claim to be good either.
Okay, I'll explain it in the sense that he doesn't care about people, but I guess he does care about his kin, which is the Calderai, and he'll definitely do anything to protect them. But when it comes to the overall alliance, they don't really matter, So
okay.
it's like Calderai first, basically.
So he's a nationalist, which
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily make him evil, which I appreciate is a difficult thing to say
Yeah.
these days. Nationalism is not inherently evil.
It's not.
In WoW.
But it doesn't
Yeah, wow.
make him trustful towards
Well,
humans and stuff, you know.
I mean,
Yeah.
if he has reasons to not trust human, that's fine.
He,
You-
the thing is, he doesn't, even within his own people. When I say he doesn't trust anyone, he doesn't trust anyone, but he does care for his people, you know. It's hard to gain his trust, if that makes sense.
Yeah, which doesn't necessarily make the character
No.
a villain. He's
But he,
an asshole character.
but he would, you know, kill or you know, kick someone in the head for no reason, just to get stuff done, you know. If you're in his way, you're gonna get pushed about, basically.
I wonder how that racism was when co-crowns were still a thing.
I didn't actually go to Ogma during that, but as for hero characters, do I have hero characters? I got Dempsey, and
Is she a hero?
yeah, she is a hero. She, despite being a goblin, she is a hero.
Heroic goblin.
Like
what
she-
heresy?
She isn't the sort to be greedy. I wanted to kind of stray away from the, you know, stereotype, basically. Although she does, when it comes to goblins, it isn't always about being greedy, it's about ambitions as well.
Mm.
And her ambition is to become, you know, a great mage someday. But yeah, she uses her abilities to help others, better Azeroth around her. She uses her knowledge to store stuff that would, you know, cause damage to others away from their hands, you know, all that stuff. Basically, goody stuff.
Yes, she sounds like a hero.
I don't think I have an anti-hero though.
I think most of my characters are anti-heroes or villains who are not entirely evil. I prefer having the option to sort of go, just kill the guy.
Oh,
I did have an anti-hero at some point with my demon hunter. He was the kind who would do anything to actually genuinely kill the most demons possible. I failed my English there.
that's no problem. But we get what you mean. Alright, let's talk about actual in-lore heroes and villains before we stray further into the topic, I suppose. And that's pretty much what is your favourite heroes and villains of lore?
Thrall! Problem solved.
Thrall is
Oh
a
my
great villain.
No,
I'm joking,
no,
I'm joking,
villain.
I'm joking.
I'm definitely a Thrall fanboy. I love that he's an orc who breaks the mold. Like when you look at orcs from the outside in, obviously when you get into them there's the complexities and stuff, but from the outside they're essentially violent savages. And then you've got Thrall, who is a lot more benevolent and caring and gives more of a crap about other races other than the orcs. So I just really like that about him, that he's a good guy, but more that he breaks the mold for what a typical orc is.
Until they ruined him in Cataclysm.
Yeah, I'm talking about like classic.
I see what you mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, classic Thrall is actually good. I was gonna say the newer Thrall feels Mary Sue, basically.
Yeah,
Green Jesus.
my experience of Thrall was when I came back to WoW, which was pre-Cata. So I was like, yeah, I want to be one of Thrall's orcs and change the world
For the better.
for the better.
Thrall's Orcs makes it sound like Charlie's Angels or something like that.
Yeah, well, I don't know why there wasn't a guild based on Charlie's Angels about Thrall's orcs.
My favourite hero is probably Gazlo, I guess.
Gazlo.
And you can call him a hero, even if he does the stuff he does for profit. He picks the stuff that helps people, I suppose. If that makes sense.
Well, he's
I
more,
guess that kind of makes him a hero.
he has a fondness for the Horde, especially. I think you can call him a Horde hero,
Yeah, he is.
but likely not Alliance. The Alliance probably would not see him as someone entirely neutral in his businesses.
Yeah. But and then you have obviously got Duratan and Saurfang as well. I do like a lot of orcs.
Yeah, so do I.
But yeah, Saurfang specifically, he just has all this like history behind him that, you know, stands out, especially in the what was I going to say? Burning Crusade. I meant Ice Crown, even. I don't know why I was going to say Burning Crusade. Yeah, his whole interaction with Garrosh, for example, how he explains it's, you know, about honor and all that stuff in the battlefield and not, you know, being bloodthirsty, which Garrosh does explain at some point in Stone Talon Mountains himself that he got taught that by Saurfang, but well, you know, a lot of use that went to. But favorite.
Go
Go
ahead.
Go for it.
I would say that my favorite hero, it's not someone very amazing, but I would just say Runas the Shamed.
Is he a hero though?
I don't know. Not sure if you can call him a hero.
He's a
maybe.
junkie.
Junkies can't be heroes for you?
No, he's a junkie who helps you just to get his one last, you know, score,
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, but he's a junkie that tried to do good at the end, despite being an addicted cunt.
I mean,
Wow.
he's a great character, yeah, I like him. But I don't know if you could call him a hero.
I suppose it depends how you view that redemption. Like, does one act of redemption at the end make you a hero, or does it just mean you were redeemed?
I guess it just means you're redeemed in that sense.
Obviously, in John's opinion, it makes you a hero.
Yes, but I mean, you're entitled to that opinion, obviously. But in my opinion, he's not really a hero. But he did get his redemption, I suppose. Because, I mean, he kind of only did it just to get back at them for being thrown out, right?
But also because you beat the shit out of him. So, but I think he did came to Senegos to say that I will try to amend for my people's crime, something like that. I think he did said something like that.
Yeah, but I would say that too if I didn't want to get burned by a dragon.
Was it out of an inherent need to do good, or just not be burned?
Well, he wasn't forced to come with us as well, so.
True.
It's an interesting one.
It is an interesting one. For villains, it's hard to pick.
Garrosh, Cataclysm, easy.
I have to say, I would pick Garrosh as well. Except the execution, Garrosh could have made a very good villain, but the execution was really so badly done.
Yeah. I just liked that he came barreling into the forefront of things and was like, fuck everybody else, I'm the war chief. We're gonna do it this way, and we're taking what we want. Like, I mean, in some regards, I know he wasn't, but if you are ideally on a particular side, he's not a villain at all. But that's what made him interesting.
Yeah, if you were an orc, Garrosh was probably the best war chief you could have ever hoped for ever since Thrall.
Yeah, exactly. I liked that he had that dichotomy about him where it was like, oh, you know, you've got the orcs saying he's the best war chief, we're going to be strong again. He was like, dare I say it, the Donald Trump of Warcraft.
Yeah, he was.
That's the best way to put it.
We're going to make the Horde great again. And
Build
that
the
didn't go well for him, so maybe Trump needs to take a lesson there.
Maybe not the genocidal ways, please.
I want to say Gul'dan.
Ooh, Gul'dan.
Gul'dan simply was born in the wrong race, to be honest.
I think Gul'dan makes for a great villain, but he makes for a cliche villain as well, in the sense that he's just after power, you know? He wants power, that's pretty much it.
And he cared for nothing. I mean, Gul'dan can be defined with three major feelings: thirst of power, fear, and egoism.
Well, I forget the name of that troll as well that betrays you in Zordrak.
Shit, forgot his name.
You know who I mean, the ice troll, right? The one you do a dungeon with and he gets power.
Dracul.
That's it.
Dracul.
He makes for a pretty interesting villain as well. just that sudden twist at the end where he turns. Well, I guess he doesn't kill you right away. He just kind of offers you a place by the Lich King's side as well. But obviously later down the line you kill him, which it makes for a pretty interesting thing if you do the entire storyline there.
But let's be honest, the only real villain here is Milo's Mana Storm.
He's not a villain anymore, though, is he?
No, not anymore.
They kind of made him a sidekick hero, I guess. He's been a follower twice now, hasn't he?
not. I think I was trying to say Dr. Weasel.
He is a weasel. But so, Gallywix is one of my favourite. I guess. Is he a villain or is he an anti-hero? I guess he's a villain more so.
He's pretty selfish.
Yeah. Gallywix is interesting.
For a goblin like Gallywix, I think there is no evil or justice. There's only the power of money.
Yeah, to a degree, yeah. Like, there's no morality involved in whether a goblin is evil, or a goblin like Gallywix at least. But I think if they are willing to do horrible things like enslave people and sell them and murder competition, then they are still a villain.
Hey.
They're just doing it for a different reason.
He'd make for a great war chief, though.
No.
Make the Horde great again! We did this dance.
Alright, let's go on to hero and villain syndrome, I guess. The whole... Do the heroes have to win all the time, or do the villains always have to win? Or you know what I mean, right?
You've got that listed as two different things on the thing.
Oh, well.
I think so.
We'll work on it.
I was going to say, what is hero and villain syndrome to you? First of all.
Alright, well... I'd like to kind of describe the hero syndrome being as... You got this hero archetype, you're playing this character. A lot of times you get people who have this implanted into their head that the villain always loses. Or there's just no way that it can shift from one place to another.
Hero syndrome is even too much.
So
you can just call it cartoon syndrome.
I think that's probably the best way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It works for both sides, regardless, though. But what I'm trying to explain, though, is it tends to happen with the heroes more because the people who play the villains always get killed right away or gets bored because the hero will never make it more interesting to lose now and again, which would make for a more interesting story personally, because I like having the hero win sometimes. It just adds that extra danger and just like, oh no, you know?
The other thing with hero and villain syndrome is a lot of... I feel like a lot of these people, when they adopt hero and villain...
Hold on. Your mic is fucking up. Technical difficulties. Brom. I'll move on to Ran whilst your mic is being fixed.
So.
Oh. Okay, no, hold on. Hello? Hello?
Hello, I'm here.
Okay, sorry. I think it might have been on my end. Hello, Brom? Brom? Yeah, I think it might have been on my end. Are you there, Brom? I'll go on to Ranying. Sorry, guys. Seems we're having some technical difficulties with Discord, but what's your take on that, Ranying?
What was the question again?
The whole hero and villain syndrome, you know? Like, what is your take on it?
I would say that it's something both people have to talk about beforehand, because one of the reasons I see, like you just said, that heroes just think that they should win all the time. Same with villains. And I mean, although I would say that villains don't think that they should win all the time, they actually do accept consequences. But when you have heroes who all gang up on them, leaving them no chances, you kind of do feel like they should be overpowered at some point just to withstand their assaults. So, in my case, I would say that the hero should make more effort, because if you, it's kind of denying the efforts and the evolution of the villain if you just want to win despite the villain's powers, progression, storyline, everything that explains how he ended up there. It, it's difficult to explain, mate.
It is
Sorry.
difficult to put into words now that I think about it, but it's understandable what we're trying to convey, which is pretty much that the heroes have this sort of implanted in their head that they always have to be the victor, and it doesn't allow for progression on the villain side, doesn't allow for a better story to be told, doesn't allow for growth basically. Because if you have the hero always winning, always pushing towards, you know, I mean it is their aim to win at the end of the day, but it shouldn't always be successful. I mean, you should have your losses now and again. Consequences can add for more exciting stories to participate in. If that's what
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. One of the arguments I always pitch to people when you want to roleplay with a villain is that accept taking a hit. Accept taking a hit. There is nothing wrong with having weaknesses. Absolutely none. In fact, making your character vulnerable or weak to certain things makes them more relatable, makes them more
Making them have
interesting,
weaknesses, flaws, it makes it more interesting, yeah.
more human, just more human, and people can relate to that. Oh, he's not all knowing, all powerful. Maybe he's just like us. In
Like
the end, go ahead.
that goes for both sides though, because I understand there's also villains who just don't back down basically, even if they are in a position where they'd lose. They're just like, no, I'm not taking it, you know? And
Cheers. I think you two are having technical issues. When you speak, you're
I think it's Discord. And if it
yeah,
is
yeah.
Discord, I'm gonna get pretty pissed off because I'm trying to actually record here. I can hear you fine.
Okay, okay. You just sound like a mic with lots of what's the name again? Statics. Yeah.
Right. I'm not sure what that is then. I
And
can't be helped right now.
and so what I was saying that is my advice to hero would be take hits. Villains too should have their fun, but another side of the spectrum would say that villains, you have to understand, it's it's not a very long lasting form of roleplay you're having there. It has an end, is what I'm trying to say.
It shouldn't have to, though. I think that's part of the problem.
There will be an end at some point, but it shouldn't end today at this event right now. You know, there should, like I was explaining, because we're all having technical difficulties at the moment, so you disappeared for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
There should be growth really. You should allow growth between both sides to build up these, I don't know, conspiracies or these twists, these turns, everything for both sides to get them thinking how to approach this, you know?
Yeah, well, what I was going to say before the technical difficulty started was, I feel like a lot of people who get put into the hero and villain sort of circle, the people who don't play grey in the middle, and they think, oh, I'm the good guy, I'm going to win, or I'm the bad guy, I'm going to die, like Jun was just saying. What they tend to forget, what they're emulating is things like movies and novels and stuff like that, and what they forget is, even before the finale where the hero inevitably wins because George R.R. Martin's not writing everything in the world, but even before they win, the villain wins most of the rounds leading up to the finale. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
If the villain was crap, they'd lose in the first act and there'd be no story and no movie. Like,
That's
they
what I
have
was
to
trying to
win.
say.
The villain has to win at least until the very, very end, and then the hero can win.
Yeah.
But it's like you know, that's only if you're doing it in black and white. I'm blue, you're red, I'm good, you're evil. So therefore evil wins until good smites evil. But I don't feel like that's the best way to roleplay. I don't think it's got a very long shelf life, to be honest.
No, I mean, by all means, you could take turns at winning and losing, or you could have, I don't know, one big win for the villain, one big win for the heroes, and then it all comes crashing down again for both sides. I mean, it could even be a draw at sometimes, really. But
Yeah, definitely.
it
And-
is a pretty good example, though, with the whole, I don't know, you can call it George R. R. Martin or DC or Marvel or whatever, where the hero always takes a beat down before they take their, you know, shine in the sun, basically.
Yeah, and it's like oh god, I've forgotten what my point was just going to be. No, it's gone. Move on.
But I can't really suggest a way to fix it other than saying what I've said multiple times, which is people accept your consequences, accept that your character's gonna have flaws, accept that they should have weaknesses, because I mean, if you're playing an immortal character, no one's gonna want to RP with you. It makes it really
Yeah.
boring.
Yeah, that's one of the main issues with some major role players. They think that they should be able to do anything at any time in a blink of a second. That's not how it works. It's when you're just shaping a Mary Sue there.
What I do with my mages, every time they cast an ability, they become weaker, as in it's draining energy, draining mana, and it obviously affects how they can fight physically with another player.
I up in my mages as in incapable of doing more than maybe more than one thing at the same time. Like if I'm focusing on defensive spells, I will not suddenly switch or do at the same time offensive
Oh yeah,
spells.
obviously.
That you're not an archmage or even Khadgar.
No,
I
no,
think
no,
even
you
Khadgar
can't do it
can.
all at once. I don't think Khadgar can even do three
Yeah,
spells at once.
Yeah, I think in that audio book when he was fighting Gul'dan, he was channeling a spell that would protect him from an attack from Gul'dan while Maya was attacking him.
Yeah. No, it makes sense though. I mean, it's same with warlocks or whatever. Any casters actually. You can't cast too many things at once, because I mean, you could try, but it'll drain a lot of energy from you. Because it's the same as a warrior walking in with big ass armor, charging into battle. Eventually, you're gonna get worn out, aren't you?
I think like that's the main problem with villain and hero roleplay, is the same as having overpowered class roleplay. Is it's so one-sided. It's practically pre-scripted, and that's not roleplay. That's just writing a book.
Writing your fan fiction.
Yeah, and I think some people who roleplay. I mean, there's people who don't roleplay heroes and villains, but mostly it is people who roleplay heroes or villains who find themselves in this situation where they expect to get the outcome that they want because they're the good guy. And it's like, that's not how roleplay works. And it's not actually how the world works. People don't tend to be inherently good and or evil. Like, they're not one or the other. Most people are a degree of one or a degree of the other or a degree of both.
It would be weird to call yourself absolutely holy or absolutely evil. And even if you are that, you'd be most likely a boring character at some point.
It'd be terrible.
Here's a better way to put it. In everyone's eye, you're at least considered more good or more bad. I mean, you can consider yourself a hero, but in someone else's eye, you could be considered a villain because you did something some way they didn't like or whatever.
Yeah, it's absolutely a matter of perspective, but it also comes down to like introspective. Like, if you're playing a villain, and let's say he's a typical cartoonish villain, he's evil, he wants to destroy the world, he doesn't care about anybody but himself, all he wants is power and the destruction of everything else.
So Gul'dan.
But Gul'dan. But he has a pet bunny rabbit that he will not kill. You're not 100% evil, mate. You're 99% evil. But if you won't kill that bunny rabbit, then it's just, you know what I mean? It's not black and white. You have a grey area. It's not very big, but it's there.
Yeah, I mean the bunny rabbit is your golden goose, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean it's introspective and perspective, whatever. Like, it does come down to that, and I mean you can call anyone a hero or a villain, I suppose. If you think about it, dwell into it, you could pick out every detail you've seen that character do in every fight or whatever. I don't know. For example, let's say Terraless just stood there while some guy was getting stabbed, doing nothing at all, just like staring at him, and then one other time he helps this other person who's getting stabbed in a different case. Is he a villain or is he a hero there?
Well, he's neither. That's
Yeah.
the point.
That's what I'm saying.
You can't claim to be a hero if you allowed somebody to be stabbed, no matter what the reason. Sometimes the reason is perfectly fine, like perfectly adequate. If I was going to move, they were going to slit my throat, that doesn't necessarily, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have a choice, but an out-and-out hero will still try and move and get their throat slit and die bleeding on the floor because they were trying to do the good thing. But, like, that's not how it works. It's not... Being 100% hero or villain is possibly the most hazardous thing to your health you can possibly choose to do.
And very difficult to pull off. Because...
Well, that's why. That's
Yeah.
why it's difficult, because like you said before, consequences. Actions have consequences. And out-and-out heroes and villains should be facing consequences all the time.
How would you approach then, let's say for example, a hero archetype?
I wouldn't.
But how would you, if you were going to? Not saying you would.
No, I actually believe that is the answer. Like, you just don't play an out-and-out blue or red, you know, like, and I'm using blue and red as in moral, not as in Alliance Horde. But don't play an out-and-out hero and villain, because not only are you playing a boring character where you think the ending is pre-scripted...
See, that's my question though. We've explained the bad things about it, but there's a good way to go about it. You can still be a hero, but what I would put forward is have some flaws, have some weaknesses, have something that makes you tick, or something that you just don't like. Be human, basically.
Yeah, and do it.
Absolutely. Have flaws and weaknesses, but the thing is, with flaws and weaknesses, if you play them properly, most of them, or at least some of them, will eventually... Let's say you're a hero, but you're a hero whose flaw to make yourself not a Mary Sue is, I am an alcoholic. Well, that's fine. That works. It's good roleplay. But eventually, your alcoholism might lead you to stabbing someone. Are you still a hero if you're drunkenly stabbing people? I would say no. I'd say you've strayed away from being an out-and-out hero, and that's why I say don't play an out-and-out hero or villain. Play somebody who's aiming to be one side or the other, absolutely. But don't go, I am the good guy, I am Paladin of Goldshire, which definitely needs one.
That face needs to be
I will
cleansed.
do all of the good things in the world, because you're railroading yourself to making the conscious moral decision every single time you need to do it. And it's boring. And on top of that, you don't get the opportunity to drunkenly stab someone to death because you're also an alcoholic. Because out-and-out heroes, I mean, they could be alcoholics, but eventually that alcoholism is going to lead them to not being an out-and-out hero anymore.
Actually, a good example to put with that, if people watch Marvel, is Tony Stark, where he's an alcoholic, but he is a hero. And
I think he stopped. No, I'm not sure.
I believe there's a part... I don't read the comics because I can't afford them, but you know, there is a part where his alcoholism leads him to become a villain.
Right, exactly, and therefore he's crossed the line. I would actually say that Tony Stark's an anti-hero, but I tell you who's not a hero is... who is an out-and-out hero is Captain America. Yeah. Because the whole point of him is he cannot make any decision other than the morally correct one. And
he's a patriot, pretty much.
Well, he is a patriot, but like he will not make a morally incorrect decision, which is what an out-and-out hero is. So if you want to play an out-and-out hero, and you want to be that good guy, you have to be Captain America. and nobody's going to be Captain America on Argent Dawn as well as people who've written Captain America.
On a joking note, my friend did try to play Captain Ironforge at one point as a dwarf. That was pretty funny to watch, though. Yeah, I mean, it's, I guess, the same question with villains, but it's easier with the villain, I suppose, than it is with heroes, because
It's
I mean,
Go.
to a degree, you don't have to really care about anything, and you can play your villain like that, fair enough, but it doesn't make them as fun either. But it still makes them better than the hero archetype, because you can still get into interesting situations.
Yeah, I would say I would agree that it's easier to play the villain, but it's also, I would say, easier to fall into the pitfalls.
Yeah.
Because if you're playing an out-and-out villain, obviously the opposite applies. Rather than being an out-and-out villain who's an alcoholic, because that's probably going to help you. You want to be an out-and-out villain who, I don't know, won't kill children or won't kill bunny rabbits, or even if it's just a particular individual child, maybe it's a slave child that you've had since you started your great path of evil, but the worst thing you can think of is that slave child being harmed. And it's like, you kind of have to give yourself these Achilles heels, no matter which side of the coin you roleplay. And if you don't give yourself those heels, that's when it gets boring.
Yeah. No, I guess you can call it a crippling effect for your character, I suppose.
I think I once heard something about a villain only sees the good people as the true evil.
Yeah, they always think they're right.
You can have a villain that actually has a family that he cares about, but works for nefarious purposes, like bring about the coming of the old gods, and still look out for his family, his friends, and maybe convert them in the same process. But
God, I just imagine one of the cultists just going back home and just reading a newspaper whilst talking to his son or something.
but that's the thing. Like,
yeah, no, I get it.
All villain well, not all villains, but most villain characters actually believe they're the good guy.
No, it's
And you
true,
can't,
yeah.
you can't believe you're the good guy if your ultimate goal is to burn and kill everything, everywhere, all the time, whenever. Like, otherwise, why are you not just walking through Elwyn, setting every single tree on fire and slaughtering any wildlife that you come across? That would be out and out evil, but because your character believes in some way that he's the good guy and he's doing the right thing, he has to have, to borrow a Harry Potter term, he has to have Horcruxes. He has to have things that make him weak, that make him not a perfect villain. And it might be stuff like family or pets or I don't know what, but he's got to have things where he will not do that because he believes what he's doing is good, and you can't convince yourself that what you're doing is good if you're slaughtering an orphanage. Unless, you hate orphans and that's why it's good, I don't know. But
There's only reason is because he hates orphans.
but you could argue, like,
Yeah.
he could justify slaughtering an orphanage if the kingdom is in some kind of recession, the orphanage costs so much money and it drains the grain stores because you have to feed them. Therefore, the villain thinks, I'll go kill all the orphans, therefore we won't have to feed them and everything's good again.
All
He believes
things
he's doing it for the good reason.
or just think that having them as orphan is a worse fate than death. So
Or that,
because
that's
they would have
also,
to suffer. Yeah, that would be a horrible fate. They would have to find a shitty job and eventually end up like him. So I'm doing a good service to the universe by killing those orphans so that they don't turn like me.
Yeah, exactly.
Logic.
Like, but the fact that he can justify it as him being the good guy means he's not an out-and-out bad guy.
But, I mean, what about the villains? Yeah, good point. I was just to kill off the child RPers in the orphanage. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, there are villains who acknowledge that they are villains, and they do it because they like it, basically. And
those are like the cartoon sort of villains for me, like where they don't have any justification. There's no characterization. But I don't think those
there
can
can
roll
be though. Like, I suppose if you shape your background with it, which means I don't know, your dad was abusive or your I don't know, your mum took away your favorite toy or whatever. I don't know. It just kind of like all these bad things after bad things just kind of pile on, and then you kind of become that bad thing, basically, and you don't really care. You don't have anything that kind of breaks down the barrier where this is your stopping point, you know? If you can build up a proper full-on background and make it interesting as to why the character reached there, I don't think it's as bad as it can be if someone just does it because they want to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
being
would
a
argue
villain-
that that's actually better, but
And-
also that's harder to roleplay than anything else.
It is harder to roleplay, but it'd be a rewarding experience for you and for other players if you kind of put your effort into it.
What were you going to say, John?
Yeah, go on, John.
No, I was just gonna say that a villain, if you just want to be a villain for the sake of power, it's the most hollow reason you could possibly have to roleplay one. Being a villain that actually can be relatable and has as well weaknesses, that's quality roleplay. You can actually get some friends on the good sides with that. I've seen some pretty amazing amusing stuff done by good villain role players. Trust me, I've had a satire once in my Demon Hunter guild. This dude was so evil, but we needed him. He kind of was our healer, and even when he was healing us, he was making plans to screw us over. Should we ever piss him off in some way?
See, now that I think about it, though, there is kind of a villain like that, which is Gul'dan, I suppose, and we do kind of get a backstory, at least for this alternate Gul'dan, where he kind of starts off as this weakling, and people just bully him, push him around, you know, treat him like garbage, and he gets this offer placed in front of him. Within his reach, he takes it, he abuses it, and he uses it for his own personal twisted games. And it kind of works in that sense, although it's I guess a minor one that wasn't expanded upon, I suppose. But he's kind of like being this cripple, this freak, basically.
You do feel for Gul'dan at the beginning of his story.
Yeah.
He was born in an orc clan that, well, I mean, all orc clans praise strength and all, but I think he would probably have had a different fate if he was born in the Frost Wolves.
Yeah, Frostwolves are more...
Merciful.
They're merciful, they're more about family as a clan, I suppose. That's why Frau is interesting as an orc, basically. He's a Frostwolf, he has that sort of aura behind him, if anything. But yeah, I think it's a lot easier to RP a villain just for the sake of being a villain, although it doesn't always make it interesting if you don't expand upon the reason for them being bad, because they can be bad, is the whole conclusion to that. But it also makes it interesting, I don't know, if your villain has a pet cat named Mittens that they don't want to see die at all, you know, and if you threaten it, they'll I don't know, cry or whatever, you know.
It'd be almost satirical, but it'd be funny to see a villain who was a villain because their main aim was to make their pet cat immortal.
Yeah.
Like that kind of weird weakness where the entire reason that they're a villain is because they're trying to do something inherently pure.
Oh, you just spoiled this hidden story of Kel'Thuzad, man. His cat, Mr. Bigglesworth. He's the reason why he turned to necromancy.
Mr. Bigglesworth rip. Oh wait, no, we have him as a pet now, right?
Yeah, you do.
See, now when I think about it, I can't really think of any events where they can shine the best, because the characters that shine the best in events are the characters that make it interesting, in the sense that, I don't know, your friend likes cats but your other friend doesn't like cats and wants to get rid of it, you know? And then you have those two people fighting over one another. It makes it more interesting, even if you're both classified as heroes, I guess, quote unquote heroes.
I think it makes they're best suited to events that are built to have heroes and villains in them, which the majority of roleplay events, even though there is a good and evil axis about it, most of them aren't built to have a hero and a villain, or some heroes and a villain. if there's an event that is designed to have characters who are morally supposedly flawless, taking down a bad guy who is villainous for the sake of being villainous, then that's the kind of event. If that's embraced and the role players understand that that's what they're doing, then that's where they would shine the most. I don't think that they fit as well into everyday RP as grey characters that swing both ways on different issues.
No, that makes sense, but I forgot what I was going to say now. Events like war, I suppose, which we get a lot in Warcraft, there's no heroes on either side.
No, it's perspective.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that in a war, whether you are evil or good, if you kill the other enemy with pleasure for whatever reason, I think you're still evil in some way.
that's what I mean. It's perspective. It comes down to whatever side you're on, really. You see those guys as villains, and they see you as villains. And it can happen with neutrals as well, funnily enough. Both sides can see neutrals as villains, or one side can see neutrals as goodies and the other bad. And that's why you always get this drama surrounding neutrals, because, I mean, people think it's dumb in war, I suppose. With the two greatest factions on Azeroth, Horde and Alliance, why would you be neutral, you know? Is their thought process.
There's also the whole thing that not sure if it's actually canon, but isn't there officially law-wise only a year gap between expansions, between threats? So where do they put all those soldiers?
I do not want to get into timeline stuff.
I don't question it. I just say they have some sort of
Exactly.
like cloning machine or something.
They are Star Troopers, like.
No, I like neutral RP. Speaking on that topic quickly, and I guess it works because it's the what will they call it? Nephilim, I guess. You got the angels, the demons, and then the Nephilim, right? They're the in between. If I want to put an example out there, they're kind of like in it for a specific reason. It could be a reason that another side wants, or another time the other side wants, and it makes it more interesting, personally. But if you're playing the neutral character, in a sense, I mean, I personally find Argent RP boring, but others find it interesting, and Argent is always there to do good, or what they perceive as good.
I was going to say that's like neutral RP in what we're referring to means non-faction roleplay.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean neutral as in the morality scale.
Oh yeah, true.
Most neutrals would consider themselves to be good, and the whole point of them not being in a faction is because they've decided that the biases of the factions mean that the factions don't always do what's in the moral best interest of the world of Azeroth. So that's what neutrals are. Those are the people who've gone. They're the Captain Americas. The neutrals are. They're the ones that have gone. I don't give a crap whether you want to kill each other. I'm going to make sure that the planet survives because that's what's morally best.
I guess the Captain America WoW is pretty much Khadgar.
Yeah, probably.
I
Oh,
mean,
man.
you even see it in Silithus, where he's like all this fighting against a legion, then we come back to at each other's throats, all that stuff. I won't take no part in it.
I think that's the point where some player base started to hate on Khadgar. I think it's mainly Alliance players because he has a freaking statue in Stormwind, and this dude is so neutrally aligned.
He has a statue because he.
He saved Azeroth from
Yeah, well,
Asian.
no, it's a bit complicated to go into that story at the moment, but it's
My bad, my
understandable
bad.
where Khadgar is standing from, though. I mean, he was introduced into the storyline more so during. It was during Warlords, wasn't it? Or was he in Secondary?
Warlords.
Yes, Warlords, and then onto Legion. And he has a lot of involvement with both sides. He's there basically for the greater good, which is pretty much what Captain America is. He's choosing it for the best interest in both sides. He's not giving one side an advantage over the other. and it makes sense. The ending, I suppose we'll get more on him later, but the ending for towards Battle for Azeroth that we have of him, where he's there, you can. It even makes me a little depressed listening to it, but he sounds really sad and disappointed and everything when both factions are at each other's throats again. And that is what I guess a hero neutral sort of character is.
Yeah, I think a hero would respond to the concept of Battle for Azeroth with, no, this is absolutely not what we should be doing. They wouldn't be the ones proclaiming, I'm going to slay the enemy, let's kill them all. Those are your nationalists, your fanatics, your zealots. They're not morally good, they're just prospectively good. They're zealots for their faction.
Yeah. That's there's basically perspective, and then there's actual good, and I guess Khadgar's a sort of good basically. And I mean, as Mary Sue as he is, Frau is also good in the sense that he might lean towards one side, but he's always looking out for the best interest in Azeroth basically. Someone's dead. Okay, there we go. I mean, I guess if you want to say which character shines best in these heroes and sort of situations, it's the neutrally aligned ones, I suppose.
They're the ones that feel more
Suited.
More suited to being heroes. And equally, I would argue, most villainous characters would be better off feeling chaotically aligned. The people who sided with the Legion, they're your purebred villains, because what do they think's going to happen when the Legion destroys us? They're not going to get to live.
No.
But they don't care, because the whole point is, I don't want to live, I want everything destroyed, so I'm going to help the Legion. And those are your out-and-out villains.
It's in these moments that you kind of think to yourself that, maybe Sargeras wasn't so wrong about purging the universe. When you look at the people on Azeroth.
Yeah, we're definitely not worth saving.
Yeah. I mean, I am, but I don't know about you. No, I don't think Sargeras is that interesting of a villain.
Nah, he's
he's not.
cartoonish.
Yeah.
No, he's not, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna turn into a Bromhead.
Even Kill Jaden
and Archimon were more
interesting. They were more interesting
than him.
And even then, I personally couldn't get involved with them too either. Like personally, the Legion as a whole concept, they weren't interesting to me. They just seemed like just a filler villain, I guess. Like just forced upon, if anything.
Mm.
Whereas you get more interesting villains with Arthas, for example, and that's actually where perspective could be played upon actually, because Arthas saw himself doing something righteous, right? When he was purging, I always pronounce the name wrong. Strathlome, isn't it? Strathlome or something like that. But yeah,
Stratholme?
Yeah, when he was purging it.
Yeah.
He saw himself as doing something that will stop the plague from spreading, basically. And he saw himself as a hero there, and that's where the example of perspective could lie, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you look at it from the perspective of us player, knowing the full story, you can kind of wonder what was the other choice. If you didn't quarantine, you could only quarantine the place, and I don't think anyone would be comfortable with being locked up in a place where some people could turn into zombies and turn you into another zombie as well.
Hey, I'm all for zombies.
Sorry.
Can't bother doing that. But yeah, I think we've pretty much touched the topic. I can't think of anything else to add above it. Which, this is a pretty short one, to be fair. Let me just look at this again. Alright, here's a question for both of you actually. What do you do when you come across characters like this though? Like these full-on heroes and full-on villains, or where they push their agenda upon you, I suppose.
tend to treat them the same way that I treat people who are less good role players or who are borderline low role players, and just treat them like they're a lunatic.
But what if they're actually decent role players though?
No, but it doesn't matter whether they're a decent role player. I treat people who are bad role players as if they're mentally damaged as well. But like, and I mean icy. But if a character comes to my character and is like, "I doth proclaim I am the most evil and powerful warlock in the world," my guy will just be like, "Well, you're a fucking basket case, clearly."
I'd love to hear him
Like,
say
if-
that actually.
if the guy starts flinging demons around and proving that he's the most powerful warlock in Azeroth, then it might be different. I'll probably start running. But if they're just saying it and and just trying to behave like a cartoonish evil villain, I'm just going to treat them like they're an idiot, like in character, because my character's grounded and understands that the world's not black and white and these people don't exist. So when faced with people that apparently do exist, he's just like, "Oh great, what asylum did you escape from?"
The way I personally deal with them, if they are borderline lollers, I just make a Green Lantern impression. My planet needs me. I need to go away, do something else. But if they are actually serious role players, I find an excuse to disappear, to do something else. That it's not worth butting your head over it.
I suppose I always give an opportunity to hear it out and see where it goes for a bit. But if it's something that doesn't interest me personally, I again, like you guys, I find a reason to sneak on away. I don't know, my character saw a butterfly and started following it, whatever.
It doesn't necessarily come down to not believing that they're decent, like that the roleplay is going to be decent. It actually, I deal with it purely in character. My character has an agenda. He has a thing that he's trying to do. He's not just bumbling around Azeroth doing nothing. And if these characters turn up and meet him and they're like, whether they're good or evil, if the evil guy's like, "You should bow to me and help me destroy all of Azeroth," it's like, I've got shit to do, mate. I've got to pick up bread.
Maybe tomorrow.
But if there's a good character that comes bounding towards my character and is like, "Oh, there is an evil warlock in the den over the hill. You must help me slay him." It's like, still picking up bread. So, I mean, you do you, dude.
You can kind
It's
of wonder
not-
where they ask where they take all those resources. It's fine to be a villain, but you still need money to finance your researchers. You still need money to pay clothes and all. So, where do you get all that? Do you steal from people?
Sorry, I was just having a funny thought. I want someone to make an event where the whole idea is just to pick up groceries. A whole campaign where this guy's like, "Oh, you need to save me from this and that," but Frau always just technically getting you to pick up groceries. It would just be
Why
pretty
not?
funny. I think it would be pretty funny, actually. Like, it'd be pretty fun to be involved with as well, actually, if you pull it off right.
But like that, I mean, that's a mundane,
Yeah.
a mundane example. But like, everyone in Azeroth is doing something.
Yeah,
They all
yeah,
have their own
obviously.
plans, and some of them, like, for me, prior to War Dogs, if somebody had approached Bromhead when he was a ranger, like a fellow soldier or whatever, and said, there's a thing, a witch coven or whatever, just a kilometre to the south, we're going to go and engage it, we'd like you to come with us. Of course Bromhead will help because he believes that that's his duty, but it's different. It depends on the perspectives. Like, if somebody is bounding toward me or, rides towards me and proclaims it and you must do this and you must come with me for the good of Azeroth, it's like, fuck you, I get orders, I don't do the good of Azeroth, that's not me. It's people have to have their own motivations for doing things, and you can't just expect the moral or immoral high ground to be a reason for people to do stuff.
No, yeah, I totally get that. I guess it depends on what I'm doing currently. What is it? Escort quest, escort Farmer John through Stormwind Marketplace. Make sure to kill all teenage ninja assassins. Archmages of the Lich Queen Jaina. You could, I might actually think about doing this just purely for a bit of light-hearted roleplay. A whole campaign based around picking up groceries. Like, he makes up this bread to be, I don't know, the ever long-lasting bread that'll cure
Make it-
starvation or whatever. You know?
M-
It
make
doesn't even have to be that. Just make it really tasty bread.
Yeah.
make it into the valley of Four Winds. I'm pretty sure you'd have some amazing time there. Pick the biggest pumpkin.
I might actually do this purely for the sake of light-hearted roleplay, because I think people would have fun in that, actually.
There is a giant turnip that has been stolen. Was it the Veerman?
No, it was Jeff.
It was Dave again,
Dave, he's back at it.
stealing turnips now.
What was the question they wanted to ask? Let me actually check on Discord quick. Fuse talks, questions. There we go. Kelphus versus Illidan, apparently.
You're asking the wrong dude.
Yes. Okay, I'll speak from preference and I'll say Kelphus. I don't know what you guys would say, but
I mean, are we just picking one? What's going on?
I don't know.
I
He
would
just
say
he just said Kelphus versus Illidan, so I suppose we're picking one.
Illidan, because I like his look more. I don't understand what the question is.
Neither do I. Just said Kelphus versus Illidan, so I suppose Kelphus for me. I don't know. I like his story more, even though he turned to be, for some reason, he turned to be a complete weakling in the dungeon after you beat him in the raid, which is weird to me because he'd still be a powerful mage, right?
It just sounded like someone who didn't manage to swallow his love rejection. Yeah, the rejection of Jaina.
Ah, yes, Jaina. Good old Jaina. I hate Jaina.
Silence! Do not speak of the glorious Jaina.
Jano, the fantastic Jano.
Yeah, she is.
Jano.
Isn't that something you use to unclog sinks?
I don't know. Oh, Drainer. Maybe, yeah. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, we'll move on to guilds for now. But I don't think I have any guilds personally to talk about this week.
I have one.
Go for it.
Give me a second. I just need to find my information for them.
Oh, War Dogs, huh?
No, not us. I plugged us last week. I'm not going to do that again. I am plugging the... Well, I don't think the guild tag is but Valiant Accord. They don't have a forum presence. They don't have an Argent Archives presence. But they are a neutral travelling order that are set on protecting and preserving Azeroth. So interestingly, they are about as morally good as you can get. Their entire, at least premise, is that they're doing what's best for Azeroth. Anybody who's interested can look for Leolin Larrier. That's their GM. And yeah, they're a super cool team of guys. I spoke to their officer team a couple of weeks ago. They are currently in Desolis, I believe. So yeah, anybody who's looking for neutral-ish, save the world type warband RP, I would look up the Valiant Accord if you can track them down.
I think I've heard of them. And I think I've interacted with one or two of theirs, and it was pretty good interaction, to say the least. Although I do remember that I was meant to plug last week Esmira's new guild, which is a mage order, a neutral mage order, led by her Draenei. And obviously Draenei's have a lot of knowledge in that area. I'm not sure how it's been built up upon so far, but I can link the thread on, you know, on my thread, so you can give people a glance at it. But she created that recently. I believe it's in the process to be properly used in the whole Battle for Azeroth scenery, where they're the neutral sorts rather than picking a faction. I might bring Dempsey into it, I don't know. Campaigns.
Be right back.
There
I'm
is.
going to be.
I mean, we're going off soon, but sure, go for it. Trying to find the campaign for It's the Damned or something like that. I know I had it saved. Sorry, I'm very disorganized today. Return of the Damned, which is led by Jacina Silver Shield, and I think it started. Has it started?
I don't know. I've missed this one.
Oh no, it starts on the 8th, so 2 days actually. It's a sort of Scourge related event in Novrand, I believe. So you have a bit of a break from all the demon stuff. I can't explain the campaign. It's a bit difficult to describe campaigns if you aren't the campaign organizer yourself. But yeah, if you're interested in that, if you have no RP going on, I believe you can still head towards it as an individual, whatever. I might be appearing in there with my new Lightforged here you're seeing on the screen.
Hooray, Lightforged.
Have you know that this Lightforged is going to be a cool guy? I'm going to base him off of Reinhardt, if you know Reinhardt.
Nope.
You know Overwatch, Reinhardt, Big Shield?
Oh, I don't play Overwatch.
Get out of here. I suppose that's it. Let me just say again, if you want to help out or whatever, do poke me. I can join the Discord. I can give you the voluntary rank. You can help me find threads. You can help me find campaigns, past events, history of Argent Dawn to talk about, lore talk, whatever. I might start promoting a few PvE, PvE like related, guilds and events rather than RP, because I mean I am talking about Argent Dawn as a community as well. If that's it, I suppose. I mean, do you any of you two have anything to add?
No, not that I can think of. Do you know what you're talking about next week?
I do not know yet,
decided?
but I believe I might lean towards Mary Sue's.
Ooh. That's gonna be a bashing session.
We could have as well just chained with that tonight, because Mary Sue and evil good role player are kind of close topics, to be frank.
They definitely stray into each other.
Should we bring it in? I mean,
what you mean tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, Mary Sue's a bad. There we go.
There we go. It's better to bring it into another topic mixed with another, because I think that'll be another short one, but we'll see. Okay, this is the first time I'm going to be asking for it, because someone recommended I do so, and if you want to subscribe, I suppose you can subscribe. There'll be some emotes at some point that Kanju or Laduno, an artist who drew the whole icon, the whole tabs below, basically helping me spruce up my Twitch a bit, basically. You'll get another access to emotes by that, and you'll be able to support me and help me use that money to further put into this sort of stuff, basically. I don't really need it 100%, but it helps. Otherwise, I think that's it. I think if Bromhead wants to come, because I think he wanted to talk about Mary Sue as well, right?
I mean, if you can't get anyone else, I'll talk about Mary Sue's, but it's just going to be bashing them. They're just bad role players, really. Or at least bad characters. I will come back anytime you want me to, but
I'll probably explain what topic better for next week, though, because I tend to plan it after.
Yeah, I mean, at least preliminarily, I'll say yeah.
Alright. Well, I suppose Brom might appear next week again. You get to listen to his voice moan about stuff.
About Mary Sue's.
About Mary Sue. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I blame these two guys here.
and we blame him, and there's more of us.
Thank you for sticking around. And what did you say? You're making a drone? No, I didn't want to make a paladin. I wanted to make a Reinhardt character, but I wanted to make a warrior and just use a giant shield with a mace or a sword, whatever. I don't know. I just can't be bothered playing a paladin right now because they're kind of boring.
You could roleplay something else than a paladin with your paladin character.
I mean, paladin. I tend to make classes that I find enjoyable as well, not just for RP.
Well, my paladin is just an artificer, a Draenei Artificer. I don't roleplay her as a paladin. She uses arcane. That's enough for me,
What a
I
nerd.
suppose.
Alright, thank you for listening today. Thank you for you two to join me. That's technically 1 hour and 10 minutes, I suppose. I'm gonna have to upload this, but also kind of explain that there's technical difficulties.
Thank you for having
I don't
us.
think they were massively. They didn't take away from too much.
Hopefully it didn't, but some people sometimes find them, a bit distracting. Otherwise, yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.